Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're going to use technical analysis on Netflix using the daily, weekly, monthly time frames. So let's get right into it. We're looking at the daily. We got our fib here from this low pivot to this high pivot. A little tighter fib on this one. On the weekly we have a little bit larger one, but I'll show you that in a couple minutes here. So we have an upper trend line that's been holding this thing down. We have the 200 moving average. That's another area of resistance. We have a gap fill here. We have a gap fill up in there. So a lot of resistance on the top and a lot of resistance on the bottom. We're channeling through this upper and lower trend line. This is from February through June. We held it on here, popped it up, and this is light volume, just a float. But overall on the daily, we moved up. We're going sideways, slightly bullish. But since we're below the 200 MA, we're in a neutral stance. But one thing I'm really looking at closely is this inside bar bearish pattern. We're not above the 618. We're holding this trend line, and we're holding this high pivot here on this large green candle. Until we get above that, I'm still slightly bearish on Netflix. But on a bearish stance, we're looking for a close below the MAs, then to the 618 on the downside, gap window, gap fill. Then we have a lot more support down in here. This would probably be a good area for a quick bounce option play, but until we see how this thing runs into it, I mean, if we get a big red candle and just starts falling, then we're looking for double bottom, which is roughly around 85 bucks or so. On the upside, if you're long, you're looking to recapture the 200 MA, getting in this area. If we do happen to get above the 104 area, we'll probably fill the gap up at 108.37. If you're long, I would start taking some off the table in here. If you do want to short Netflix, you can add some here, you can add some here, and then use the high on this pivot for the stop out. Netflix is a touchy one. They could get upgraded by the talking heads or downgraded or a BS buyout rumor or whatever. Netflix is a tough one. It is a news-driven stock, but right now technically it's in a little bit of a weaker stance until we get above the 200 MA and get above in this area here. Let's go to the weekly chart. Weekly chart shows a different story. We're down, sideways. I'm calling this more on the bearish side. We have a breakdown bar, tried to retrace, never got above this bar, came right back in, bearish pattern. We did close above the 20 MA on Friday. This is a weekly chart, so you got to wait until Fridays for the close. So it is slight, it's more on the neutral. I'd say more bearish. If you want to short this thing here, you don't go all out. Just add a small position and be willing to add more all the way up into the 113 area. If it gets above this area, then you have to stop out. Like again on the daily, if you're long, start tightening up your stops up in this area. Again, bearish pattern on the weekly. If we close below this 20 MA, start heading down. We're heading to, let's see here, 85.21. Then I believe we're going to hit double bottom here. But ultimately, if the markets start to break down, the indexes, that is, the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, all those, we're heading down to this gap fill right here at 65 bucks. Eventually, we will get there if the markets start to break down. This one especially. Monthly, great inside bar bearish pattern. They're trying to recapture the 20 MA. And again, it's the monthly chart. We got to wait until the close on the month. But that's a great bearish pattern. And see how we were shorting Netflix down in here in December. Look at that. Came right back. We played, look at this stretch job right there. It comes back in. Stretch job, retrace to this high. Boom, right back down. Now we're setting up in a bearish inside bar on the monthly, which is ugly. They're going to need some big rumor or buyout to get this thing up. Even if Netflix has good earnings, if it pops up into these areas, and if you're not short, sell your long, go short. So eventually this one's going to come down like the house of cards. On the monthly, you have a target of 61.71. So anywhere around 65 bucks, that's a great long play, especially on the weekly. Let's go back to the weekly. Let me show you something here. The weekly has not touched the 200 MA in a long time, couple years. It has to come back to here eventually. This chart is setting up. Like I said, if it pops up into this area, it will be a little bit stronger. But as long as it stays below these MAs here, I think we're heading down to these pivots, that pivot, and then ultimately the gap fill in this area. If it fills this gap, you definitely have to be a buyer here at least for a couple of days. And everything has to bounce too with the markets, just like the SPY, the IWM. If those break down, this is going down. But you know the buy the dippers will come in and then they'll push this one back up. So Nflx, kind of neutral. If you're more aggressive, you want to short this thing here. If it pops up into this area, you want to add more. If it definitely gets up into here, you want to short this thing. All right, everyone, that's it for Nflx. Thanks for watching my videos. If you have any questions or comments, shoot it at me at stockbookie@gmail.com. I appreciate you watching. God bless. See you on the charts.